Welcome back, everyone. Paul Chamberlain, the Air Force guy, here with Everything RVs podcast. This is episode 4. I appreciate you all tuning in, whether you're listening on your streaming devices or whether you are listening or watching on YouTube. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Love to hear your comments and appreciate any sharing of this podcast. This podcast is set up. I'm bringing this to you because I live and breathe RVs. And I want to go ahead and make sure that I bring you, any potential camper, or those of you that are already maybe you're experienced campers, I am trying to go ahead and bring you the information that you need so that you can make memories that last a lifetime. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about matching the truck with the camper that you're looking to get. So stay tuned. Looking forward to this one. And I'll tell you what, this is something that I run up against all the time. And take a listen. Okay, you want to buy a truck because you want a camper. Do yourself a favor. Find the camper first and then match the truck accordingly. Now let's go over why that is important. As you can see, I mean, I'm in a Chevy dealership and they have all different kinds of trucks. Now, the difference you're going to run into is, yeah, you have a truck that can tow 13,000 pounds. It's a half-ton pickup, but it's going to be a tongue weight issue. And here's why. Let me just show you the hitch receivers that are on a half-ton truck. So hitch receivers on a half-ton truck, what they have is what we call a 2-inch receiver. Now, you may be able to go ahead and tow something for 13,000 pounds, but what you're going to be hurting is payload, and I'll explain that in a minute. When you go to the 3/4 ton trucks and 1-ton trucks, then you get what we call a class 5 receiver, hitch receiver. The differences in that is the amount of tongue weight that they can hold. So when you're looking at campers, do not look at what the tongue weight is that's in the brochure. Well, you could look at that as a starting point, but understand you need to add for options, you need to add for propane, you need to add for battery, and you need to be adding for the stuff that you're going to be putting in there. Case in point, we have a camper that shows 1,046 on the website or in the brochure. However, realistic tongue weight is going to be somewhere between 12 to 1,300 pounds, just dry weight. That's after you put a propane and battery in it. Understand that, again, that 1,046 does not include the options that are on the camper. This particular one in point, in the case I'm talking about, has an AC, which is on the front, which adds additional weight as well. So then you also have to look at the payload of a truck. Now, these Chevy 1500s that have the diesel, it's the Duramax diesel 3.0. Typically with the crew cab, you're going to have somewhere between 1,500 to 1,600 pound payload. You get yourself a 37-foot camper behind a 1,500. Number one, that is the tail wagging the dog. Number two, by the time you load that thing up, you're going to be pretty darn close to your total payload, and that doesn't include any people, pets, children, or cargo that you're putting in your truck. So be very careful, make sure you're dealing with the right people, and do your homework before you make that expensive decision and buy the wrong truck for the wrong trailer. So now what I try to help people with is to explain them in more detail, give them the information that they need so that they can make an educated decision when they're looking to purchase an RV. And I run across this a number of times. So these new trucks, yes, you know, the Ford F-150s, the Chevy 1500s, I'm sure Dodge has some of these things, where they have an astronomical amount of weight that they can tow. However, you need to understand the full picture before you just make up your mind to go ahead and get a half-ton, when in reality, for some of these campers, you should be getting a 3/4 ton or even a 1-ton truck. So case in point, just something I just ran up against just last week was I was working with a family. They were looking to purchase a 37-foot, a little over 37 feet travel trailer. And they were trading in they're trying to sell like a 29-foot travel trailer. And so my next question to them, because I'm dealing with them over the phone, and the last thing I want to do is go ahead and waste someone's time and have them travel to the dealership and not even be able to have them be on the right track. So I asked them the all-important question, and that is, what truck are you going to be towing this camper with? Now, they told me it was a half-ton Chevy Silverado with a diesel that could tow 13,000 pounds. Now, of course, that's all well and good, but people, I just want to give you a heads up. Half-ton trucks at maximum should be towing, and even this could be too long, at max should be towing nothing over 34 feet. And some of it has to come down to weight as well, because it is the tail wagging the dog. You will have a trailer that weighs dry weight as much as your truck weighs. And trust me, you get yourself into a situation with trucks passing you or a wind, whatever the case may be, or you're trying to make an emergency stop. And trust me, it is not going to go well, especially when you don't know how to react the proper way to keep things from getting out of control. Now, with this, for those of you that are looking to buy a truck, you might be saying, well, Paul, I know you talked payload, but how do I figure out what the payload is on a truck? And that is a great question. The one thing you do not want to do is look on a brochure or look on a website for a payload, because those are in generality, and I've seen on some dualies, those weights be as high as 1,000 pounds heavier than what it actually is on the truck. What you need to be looking at, and you can see, for those of you watching this on YouTube, you'll see it right here, is the weight sticker that is in the driver's door. That gives you the weight sticker. Now, so the weight sticker on this particular camper or truck was 1,569 pounds. Now, with a 37-foot camper with a dry weight that's without options of 9,400 pounds, and this did have options on it, so it's actually going to come in a little bit here than that. Tongue weight, dry tongue weight on it would have been 1,046 pounds. But then we have to add for the two 20-pound LP bottles when they're full. So there's another 40 pounds. Another at least 20 pounds if you're going to put one battery on the front. And that could be heavier than that as well. And of course, you have the weight of the options. So in reality, if I were to go weigh this tongue weight on this camper, it is going to come in dry without anything else in it, somewhere between 1,200 to 1,300 pounds. Now, with that being said, I'll tell you, it really frustrates me on these new trucks that you cannot, they do not make it easy for you to see what the tow capacities are of the hitch receiver, and that's critical as well. I remember, back a few years ago, they made it very clear for you to see, and it would show, and I'm sure it's probably in the owner's manuals, where you would see that, okay, you tow a 5,000-pound truck. And by the way, I'm talking about those when you actually have a truck that can tow things without weight distribution and with the weight distribution. I realize there's trucks out there that may not be the case. Okay, you just have one set weight. It doesn't matter whether you have weight distribution or not. So, but with a Chevy 1500 or even a 25 or 3500, you're going to have two different weight ratings on your hitch receiver. typically. And that is going to be, they'll have a dead weight, let's say 5,000 pounds with a 500-pound dead weight, tongue weight for the trailer. Then they'll give you another weight rating, and that is if in the event that you're using weight distribution. And it could go something like this. On some of these trucks, it could be, you can go 7,500 with 750-pound tongue weight. Could be 10,000 pounds with 1,000. It could be 12,000 pounds with 1,200 pounds. Now, I want you to understand this as well, because this could happen. You could actually have a hitch receiver on the back of the truck that is rated to tow more than the truck is rated for. That is possible. Just because you have a hitch receiver that is rated for more than the truck can tow does not mean that you can tow that weight. So remember that also. Always refer to your owner's manuals or your owner's manual for your specific truck to figure this thing out. Now, I know there are some class 3 hitch receivers out there. It used to be back in the day, a few years back, where it was strictly the max you would see on a class 3 receiver. And when I mean class 3 receiver, it's a 2-inch square tube. Okay. Would be max tow rating would be 12,000 pounds with 1,200-pound tongue weight in the event that you're using weight distribution. I do, and I have seen some that have gone up further than that. They could have went up to 1,250 with 1,250 pounds. It could have been 1,400 pounds, 1,400-pound tongue weight. Keep in mind that you have to take into consideration your rear axle rating as well as your payload. So you have a truck that has a 1,569-pound payload. That is the tongue weight. That's anything you put in the bed of the truck or inside of the truck itself. Could mean people, cargo, children, pets. And then you also have to understand you're going to be adding additional weight for things you're going to put in the camper. So let's just hypothetically say with this 1,500 that can tow 13,000 pounds. Let's just say hypothetically it was rated, it had a hitch receiver that was rated for 13,000 pounds with 1,300-pound tongue weight. Well, that 37-foot camper, once you put propane and battery on it, and since it has the options, you're probably going to be pretty close to that, if not exceeding that 1,300 pounds. And then once you put stuff in the camper, you're going to exceed it a little bit further. Now, with that said, let's just say hypothetically it's 1,300 pounds. That leaves you 269 more pounds of people and cargo to put in your truck. Now, here's what I do is, number one, as a company that I work for, this is not something that we would feel safe putting somebody out on the road towing this. I would much rather lose a sale than go ahead and put a family out on the road in an unsafe manner. And that's exactly what these dealerships are doing. I asked this customer, has he been to other dealerships? They had been to 3 other dealerships. Every one of them, they were looking at the same size trailer, but other brands. Every one of them said, oh, yeah, you could tow that. Yeah, because you could tow 13,000 pounds. Not one of them took a look or asked what their payload was. And also, not one of them was concerned about the length of that trailer and that family towing it. Now, the customer also said they needed to do more homework. And my response was, you can do all the homework you want. I'm just giving you the facts, and you're putting yourself in an unsafe situation, and it will cause a problem, whether it's the first time you're towing it or at some point, because I have been in situations towing a trailer behind my half-ton truck, and I have its 28-foot cargo trailer where I had trucks pass me because I was driving in the middle lane, no sway control on it, but I don't even think it would have mattered. Truck passed me on both sides of it, and my trailer started swaying. Now, if I didn't understand how to adjust for that, I would have wrecked. Most people, the first thing that they think about, or the first reaction that they come up with when their trailer starts swaying, and this is the reason why you see so many people lose it when that happens. Number one, they're typically going too fast. Okay. I was going probably too slow because then the trucks were going by me too fast, which created a lot of wind turbulence. But typical response once you start losing control of your trailer is to let off your gas and step on the brake. That is the worst thing you could do, because that will accentuate the issue with your camper or the trailer behind you, and you will wreck. Chances are. What you should do in a case, once you start losing control with your trailer, you should go ahead and squeeze your brake controller. I liken that to anybody, if anybody remembers towing something with a rope or a chain back in the day. I'm old, and we used to do that stuff. I don't know, younger generation, whether or not that's something that they have ever done, but just picture this. You have a tow vehicle towing something on a rope or a chain. If I step on the brake with the tow vehicle, what happens to the rope or chain? It's going to get slack in it, which is then causes an issue, right? It's the same thing when you have a trailer connected to your vehicle. It's going to go ahead and give you slack. And I know you're probably thinking, well, Paul, how is that possible? It's steel components. But trust me, there is that kind of energy transfer that causes an issue. Now, if you were to go ahead and apply the brakes on the vehicle being towed, hence the camper or the trailer behind you, that is going to be pulling. Figure you have the chain or the rope that pulls and makes that rope or chain taut and will straighten it out. So keep that in mind. Now, for those of you that have longer vehicles or longer campers and you're towing with a half-ton, something I've recommended to customers in the past is the ProPride P3 weight distribution hitch. That thing will keep that camper straight behind you. That is probably, in my estimation, the best weight distribution on the market. I have seen videos of Airstream travel trailer being towed with one of those, and a tractor trailer bouncing off of it a few times, and that thing didn't go anywhere. So for those of you that maybe you're listening or watching this podcast and you're having an issue, you're white knuckling that trailer that you're towing, go ahead and look at the P3 ProPride weight distribution hitch. It's costly. Takes about 4 or 5 hours to set up, but I'll tell you what, it's one of the easiest ones. Once you have it set up, it's probably the easiest one and the best one on the market. But now, so I'm back to what I was initially talking about, and that is, if in fact you're going to look for a camper and you haven't decided on a truck yet, do yourself a favor. Go find that perfect trailer for yourself, and then hopefully have the salesperson or somebody help you along with that to make sure that you're getting the right truck for that trailer. Don't be, and I've seen it happen many, many times before, where somebody, they have a particular vehicle and they know they're going to be upgrading their camper, and they'll go buy another truck anticipating what they might be able to tow with it. And then you're in this situation like these poor couple that went out and bought a half-ton truck when they really needed minimum of a 3/4-ton truck. My recommendation to anybody that's going to go look at a 3/4-ton truck, I tell them, listen, spend the few $1,000s more and get that 1-ton single rear wheel truck. So you're going to get a 1-ton single rear wheel. So, one axle, because not necessarily that the tow rating is going to be more, but you're going to have much higher payload. And it's just going to be a beefier truck. It's going to be heavier than that 3/4-ton. And trust me, you will be much happier and safer as a family. And that's what it's all about. If anybody has any questions, by all means, put it down below. Be more than happy to try and answer them. maybe there you had a situation where maybe you had too small of a truck. Let me know in the comments how that worked out, because I know a lot of people that bought the wrong camper because either number one, the car dealer told me you were going to be okay with this vehicle, and then the RV dealer said, "Oh yeah, you're good," only to find out that you're not good, and so you end up having to upgrade your vehicle. Let me know down in the comments. I do appreciate you watching, and I'm going to be back at you again next week, same time, same bat channel. I do appreciate you all tuning in. Again, this is Everything RVs podcast, and have a great week.